U.S. stock markets continue to decline today after a nosedive Thursday following Trump's announcement of the new reciprocal tariff program. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed 4% down Thursday, while the S&P 500 and NASDAQ closed down about 5% and 6% respectively. Today's declines continued, with the Dow down another 5.5% and the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ down 6%. Since Inauguration Day, the Dow is down 15%, and across the board, 10% U.S. tariff is set to begin Saturday before the reciprocal tariffs kick in next week. President Trump had this to say about the markets on Air Force One Thursday night.
It's to be expected. This is a patient that was very sick. We really inherited a terrible economy, as you know, with a lot of problems, including loss of manufacturing and plants closed up all over the country. You know, we've lost 90,000 plants since NAFTA, if you think of that. 90,000. It's not even believable. And about 6 million jobs. And so it was a sick patient that went through an operation on Liberation Day. And it's going to be a booming country.
The president has acknowledged it may take time, but he is convinced with this reciprocal tariff program, the U.S. economy will be stronger in the long run. It appears the popular social media app TikTok has lived to fight another day. Today, President Trump announced he was giving the Chinese-owned parent company ByteDance another 75 days so his administration can find an American buyer for the social media app. The extension comes after Congress initially mandated the platform be divested from China by January 19th. After taking office, the president moved that date to April 5th, tomorrow. Mike?
Ford General Motors announced Thursday it will expand production at one of its Indiana plants in response to President Trump's tariffs on foreign-made automobiles. The Fort Wayne plant assembles light-duty trucks, and the automaker announced it will hire additional workers and possibly add overtime days to the schedule. The United Auto Workers Union President Shawn Fain praised Trump's action as history-making, saying, "We applaud the Trump administration for stepping up to end the free trade disaster that has devastated working-class communities for decades. Ending the race to the bottom in the auto industry starts with fixing our broken trade deals." And the Trump administration has made history with today's actions. And over at the Ford Motor Company, executives announced on Wednesday plans to offer employee pricing to every American through June 2nd. Ford Chief Policy Officer Steve Crowley had this to say about the offer.
That's worth thousands of dollars. You come into our store, you get employee pricing. This is kind of to call a little bit of a timeout. We've heard some uncertainty from our customers, and we want them to be assured that Ford, the most American auto company, is going to do right by them.
The savings will cover a wide range of 2024 and 2025 vehicles, including gas, hybrid, plug-in, as well as diesel, Ford, and Lincoln vehicles. China and the European Union responded to the tariff announcement on Thursday, threatening countermeasures and urging the U.S. to reconsider. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen expressed that the tariffs were a major blow and indicated the EU is ready to respond. Global markets reacted negatively with significant declines in major indices. And then just this morning, China announced that beginning April 10th, it will be imposing a 34% tariff on all U.S. goods exported to the communist nation. President Donald Trump responded on Truth Social saying, "China played it wrong. They panicked. The one thing they cannot afford to do." Greg.
The Bureau of Labor Statistics released the March employment report today, showing the United States added 228,000 jobs, far above the 140,000 economists had projected. Heritage Foundation economic expert Stephen Moore celebrated the report, but was surprised Wall Street was missing the news.
Wall Street and investors are obsessing too much about the tariffs and not enough about all of the other positive things that are happening in the economy.
Also today, President Trump posted a message for Fed Chairman Jerome Powell on social media, stating in part, quote, "This would be a perfect time for Fed Chairman Jerome Powell to cut interest rates and stop playing politics." Apparently, the Federal Reserve Chair missed the appeal from the president, speaking today in Virginia and offering no interest rate reductions for the near future.
We'll continue to carefully monitor the incoming data, the evolving outlook, and the balance of risks. We're well positioned to wait for greater clarity before considering any adjustments to our policy stance. It is too soon to say what will be the appropriate path for monetary policy.
While job additions were well above expectation, unemployment rose to 4.2%, increasing the fear and uncertainty in markets at home and abroad. Joining us now is Convention of States Action President, Victory News contributor Mark Meckler. Mark, welcome to Victory News.
Good to be with you. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you. Mark, you just heard the good news on jobs in the United States during March versus our very shaky financial markets responding to the Trump tariffs now enacted. Now listen to U.S. Labor Secretary, his response.
It's going to be the key for me as the Department of Labor to protect these American workers first and grow this economy. That's what we're seeing across the board. So, yes, we will be hiring. We have to get out there and make sure that our workforce is skilled and trained.
Now, the Dirty Jobs host Mike Rowe said the thing we're going to need is new jobs in skilled labor and training because too many college degrees fail to do so. Your reaction to all of this?
Yeah, I think this is really interesting to watch all this news break at once. So you have the jobs report is almost double what they expected. So that's extraordinary news. At the same time, inflation's still running hot. I actually agree with Jerome Powell that now is not the time to cut interest rates. We can't afford to have a continuing spike in inflation. And inflation is going to be heated up a bit by all of these tariffs if they stay in place. So I think you have a complicated situation. And the reason I think the markets are down is they're uncertain. And markets like certainty. They don't know what's going to happen in the future. They don't know whether these are negotiating tactics or long-term tariffs. So until that shakes itself out, I think we're going to continue to see a shaky market.
And unemployment DOGE has to figure in it to the unemployment numbers. I want you.
Yeah, well, I would add one more thing that I think is important on the unemployment. Unemployment went up by 0.1%, and that's new job seekers. That's not people who are newly out of jobs. Those are people who are out of the job market and decided to come in. So I think that statistic's a little bit misleading.
Yeah, okay. Let me ask you about this. The president's son's Eric had an interesting social media post that said the first to negotiate will win, the last will absolutely lose. I've seen this movie my entire life. Mark, do you think President Trump sees this entire reciprocal tariff move as one big negotiation on behalf of American workers?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think he is definitely trying to reset the worldwide economic system, which he believes has not benefited the U.S. over the last couple of decades. I think there's some truth in that, but again, the narrative is never that clean. And one of the things to know is that while the number of industrial jobs have gone down, our industrial production has gone up. And so that means we're just getting more efficient. That's the reason for a lot of the loss of those industrial jobs.